Morning car lovers, welcome back. I'm Bobby Freeman. You join me on a scorching hot southeast London day here in southeast London, as I said. Well, we're going to be having a look at, in fact, a second look at the Jaguar XF, because many of my eagle-eyed viewers will know that I have reviewed this car before, this exact one, because this is actually my car. Now, the first review I made about it was just like that. It was a first look review. Now, I've driven this car, or been living in this car, well, not living in this car, although if I piss my wife off enough, I'm sure I would be. But I've been living generally with it day to day and sort of going about my daily routines in it. And I want to give you a sort of more in-depth look now, rather than the first look review, the sort of thing that they tell you about when you're buying the car at the showroom. I now have worked out all the little niggles, all the things that perhaps you don't know when you're looking at it when you're first buying it, or indeed when you're giving a first video review of it. And if you like the sound of that and you'd like to see more videos like that, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, where you can see many, many more, maybe not exactly like this, but certainly relatively similar, shall we say. Also, I've just realised that just as I've come to make my video on the car, some bird has done a great big shit right in the middle of the bonnet, which wasn't on there before. Well, I think it was, I don't know if it was on there when I started the video even, I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to have to clean that off now, so bear with me. You don't get that sort of thing on other YouTube channels, do you? Right, now the car is free of feces. Here's a rundown of some of the best and worst things about the 2019 Jaguar XF R-Sport. So we're going to start off with the worst things about the car. Now, probably my biggest gripe, and my number one on this list, is that every time I seem to get into this car, there is a different creak, rattle, groan, squeak, and which is bad enough on its own, but if it was one rattle or squeak or whatever, I could probably cope with it. I could pinpoint it and maybe sort it out. But it seems like every time I get in, there's a different one, and they work on a rotation. Sometimes there's a squeak, kind of, in this area somewhere. I'm not exactly sure, but I haven't worked that one out. It's like a sort of which is really, really annoying. But I haven't heard that one for a few days. I'm sure it will come back though. There's a rattle kind of down this area near my phone holder. It's not the actual phone holder. I think it's somewhere in the actual air vent there, so that one's really annoying. My worst one though was the actual seat. Now, I don't know if you can hear this, but listen to that. So obviously I'm just moving that with my hand, but obviously when you walk it, when you're driving along and you go over bumps and things, that makes a big creak. However, I have found a temporary solution, but it's not a great one and not something you should have to do to a Jaguar yourself. Now, I don't know if you can see this little bulge of stuff there. That is actually one of my old socks, and what that is doing, it's acting as an insulator between these two bits which seem to creak a lot. So I've managed to solve that creak by inserting a dirty old sock into a seat. So like I say, not something that you would expect to do when you're buying a Jaguar, and certainly not something that the Jaguar PR department will mention to you. Now, second is the engine. Now, this is kind of my fault for going for the 2 litre over the 3 litre, and again, this is kind of a matter of preference, but I find the 2 litre diesel engine a bit sluggish, not very responsive, particularly off the line. Okay, it is extreme. If you're trying to pull out at a busy roundabout or a busy junction or something, and you want to sort of shoot out quite quickly in a small gap between the traffic, you're probably going to end up causing an accident in this. But it's very, very sluggish. It's like, I don't know if it's the engine or if it's the gearbox selecting the gear, although you think, when you're pulling away, it's got to be first, doesn't it? But then there's always a bit of a sort of a bit of a delay, like it's thinking what to do when it changed to second, and it's not brilliant and not very refined. And as I said before, some people might not care about that, but I think perhaps that was my fault for not going for the 3 litre. However, once you get out and up to speed, it will be remiss of me not to talk about the cruisability of this car, because let's face it, it is what I affectionately refer to as an executive saloon. That's what I say to all my friends anyway. And they are, as we know, cars built to cruise, and this one, my friends, is no exception. Even with the great big 20-inch bad boy drug dealer wheels which I've got on it, it just cruises absolutely beautifully. I'm not even on the motorway or the freeway if you're in America at the moment. I'm just kind of an A road, and it just drifts along very nice. As I say, not great off the mark, but Does it kind of make up for it? I'm not sure it makes up for it, but at least it does what it's supposed to do, and that is cruise in a very, 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 very comfortable way. Now, number 3, and we can't really demonstrate this today, but this is the window wipers, okay? Because my God, when it rains, they make the most awful, I'm not sure how to describe the noise. I call it buffering, kind of juddering maybe, I don't know. And it's absolutely horrific. It's the one thing that drives me mad the most about this car. And I've been back to Jaguar about it. They've changed window wipers. I think it's the 3rd set now. They've tried adjusting them, and nothing has solved it. So it seems mad that you can spend the money on something like a Jaguar, you know, that looks so amazing, and you know, it has that prestige and everything, and they can't get something as simple as that right. My first car was a 1989 Vauxhall Nova, and I never had a problem with the wipers. They were super smooth and really, really nice, and every car I've had since then. So Jaguar, you really need to sort that one out, because it's bloody annoying. And number 4 kind of goes along with what I was saying about the creaking, and this is the kind of the cheap feel plastic. So I'm going to point you down there again to where my sock is. Apologies for this, for having sort of a sock heavy featured video, but you can see these plastics. They're kind of like, again, I hate to bring the Vauxhall Nova up again, but reminiscent of my Vauxhall from 1989. Very, very poor quality. Down here as well, these ones down here, they're just really kind of, you know, feels like it's made out of a sort of, I don't know, top of a sort of a wheelie bin or something. It's not very good. And when you're paying Jaguar money, I think you should expect a little bit more quality, even though it's down below, and yeah, not many people are going to look at it. I don't care. That's where the, you know, sort of prestige brands should really shine out at the bits, you know, perhaps behind the scenes a little bit. It's still real good quality. Well, I'd like it still to be really good quality, but it's just not. But to be fair, on the latter models, I think they have sorted that out. But on these ones, just bear in mind, if you're looking to buy one, it is going to be a little bit cheap and tacky. And number 5, this one's kind of, it's not a major issue, but it's something that really annoys me. When you put the cruise control on, I expect it to stay at that speed. If I set it at 30 miles an hour, I don't think it's unreasonable to expect it to stay at 30 miles an hour. However, if you go down a hill, it doesn't hold it back, okay? So I mostly use cruise control. I don't use it for out on the motorways. You know, so here in the UK, our roads aren't really long enough to use cruise control, in my opinion. I tend to use it for keeping me at the speed limit, you know, generally sort of round town or sort of A roads and things, so I don't get a speeding ticket. However, when you go downhill, it will drift high, you know, that gravity will pull you over the speed limit, and I think that's a little bit annoying. It's annoying also that you can't even put the limiter on. You know, I'm not Mercedes and BMWs, you can put like a limiter. You can't even do that. So I feel like I'm kind of really failing to make the case on this one, but I don't care. I'm annoyed by it. So on to the good points, and the first one is the space in this thing, because you cannot complain about the space. Look at the leg room I have here. I am a strapping 6-footer, and it's just acres and acres of space. You can put your armrest down here as well, which makes you feel even more comfortable. It doesn't give you any more space. In fact, it probably uses up a little bit more space. Also, another good thing, I'm just thinking of another one. This was an extra one to the list. One of my pet hates is when car manufacturers put a armrest in, but then put a cup holder which takes up the majority of it. Now this, they have put this in the end there, so it's not ideal. I would like it to sort of come out the end like that. However, my arm is very, very rested on there, as you can see. As long as the elbow's rested, I don't mind. I was in a, what was in the other week? Loads of them do this, but Porsche Taycan the other week, and that had the cup holder like this, but that way. So you put your arm down and your arm kind of went into the cup holder like that. It's absolutely horrific. But anyway, I don't know why I bother going on about the armrest. I was trying to make a point about the space. It's a very, very luxurious and spacious place to be. That's not so spacious. That's because I've just got the seat pressed back to do my filming. But generally speaking, everyone who gets in here feels like they always comment saying it's a really, really spacious car. I think that's a really, really good element and something to really consider if you're buying it. And continuing on the space theme, look at the boot, trunk, whatever you want to call it, on this fella. This is massive. You have to excuse my umbrella there. That demonstrates the length and depth of the boot there. In fact, I've got a tiny umbrella and a little umbrella. Who knew? But if you have a look in there, look how far it goes back. It's absolutely cavernous. It's just, I mean, I never thought I'd be the sort of person when I was 18 to start waxing lyrical about boot space, but honestly, it's really, really handy, especially if you've got a family and a growing family like mine. I absolutely love that. It's also got loads of little bits like underneath there as well, you know, lots of different space, which I tuck all sorts of stuff in there. The only slight gripe about this is it looks a little bit cheap. If you look under here, that looks a bit crap to me. Again, this is what happens when you look slightly behind the scenes on Jaguar. It's not quite as finessed as you might like, but again, I'm probably picking, you know, I'm not picking holes, that's bad, and they need to sort it out. But I think by far and away the best and most impressive and my favorite thing about this car is the design. It just looks absolutely exceptional. Just look at it, just bathe in its Jaguar beauty. I think it's absolutely wonderful, particularly when you compare it to its competition. So things like the 5 Series, the E-Class, even the A6, particularly the 5 Series. It's a great car, really, really good car, but extremely boring and dull to look at. Great to drive, but very, very boring. So when I was faced with the choice of those, this to me, I was seduced by the Jaguar Flare, and that is what it really is its strongest point, in my humble opinion anyway. So guys, that is my rundown of the best and worst things of the 2019 Jaguar XF R-Sport. A few of you have been asking about this, so I thought it'd be worth doing, especially after, you know, living with a car for 2 years, because it's not very often on the car channel you get to keep a car for 2 years. So in a rare occasion I do, I thought I might as well bring you my thoughts on it. Ironically, I lost my trail of thought there whilst actually explaining my thoughts, but I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful. If you have, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'm not sure why I did that little move there. That's my move for subscribing to the channel. And of course, press the like button on this video if you liked it, and if you want to support the show, head over to the Patreon page where you can become a patron of my channel. But until next time guys, I am Bobby Freeman. Drive safe.